What is good, everyone? What is good? Welcome back to another video. Today we're jumping back into the Go Battle League arena, this time once again trying our hand at the Open Ultra League. Today we'll be featuring a team that has 3 Pokemon that do not require any XL candy to build. The IRL economy is tough. The Pokemon Go economy is tough, I realize. So hopefully these Pokemon provide some decent options for you. They've also been around for quite a bit of time. So hopefully you might even have these Pokemon built or nearly built. So the team today is going to be Shiny Double Legacy Gyarados. Now, my hidden MMR is probably a little bit lower than a lot of yours out there, but I will say for the MMR range that I was battling in, Gyarados was hard winning a ton of leads. So a lot of Charizard, a lot of Swampert on the leads. But just in case we don't, if we get a tough lead, we'll pivot into our safe swap, that being Alolan Muk. Muk has a ton of coverage on the meta, especially running the fast move of Poison Jab. Poison Jab deals a significant amount of damage in neutral situations, and even though it doesn't have the same energy generation as Snarl, it still does put in a ton of work. And I do apologize for the incorrect graphic where Dark Pulse is indicated as a grass type move. Obviously, it is a dark type move. And then our closer will be the knight himself, SirFetchd. SirFetchd is able to hit like an absolute truck, an absolute cannon. This thing will be closing games for us. Doesn't matter if it's a positive matchup, if it's a neutral or negative matchup. With the moveset of Counter, Brave Bird, and Leaf Blade, this thing will be able to pretty much destroy whatever opposes it end game. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into some battles. Jumping straight into the first battle on the lead, we have our Shiny Gyarados, Double Legacy Gyarados on the lead against Tapu Fini. This is a tough matchup for us as the Water Fairy will be resisting our fast move of Dragon Breath, and for that reason, we pivot immediately into our Muk. Muk here will have its fast move Poison Jab resisted by this shiny minty Registeel, but we are able to do a decent amount of damage with that first Dark Pulse. Muk is also pretty bulky as a Pokemon, so we will easily be able to tank one Zap Cannon. Unfortunately, we do get debuffed, but we are able to once again reach another Dark Pulse. Although this Dark Pulse isn't threatening right now the health or shields of the Registeel, it does show the opponent that they don't want to take any more damage from those. As the opponent does recognize this, fires off the Zap Cannon, able to knock out our Alolan Muk, but we come in for the aggressive farm down on our SirFetchd. SirFetchd with energy advantage is absolutely lethal, as we will be doing about 75% damage to the Tapu Fini with our Leaf Blade, able to reach another Leaf Blade, putting immense shield pressure on the opponent. Will we respect their damage? Yes, we will. This is going to be just a Surf, unfortunately, as the opponent is able to successfully bait us. We go for the aggressive farm down, but are not able to do so and must expend our second and final shield, which we are happily willing to do, as we can now farm down the Registeel, take so much energy into this final Pokemon. We're full sending the Brave Bird here. No need to mess around with any Leaf Blades. Will the opponent respect the damage? They do not. That Brave Bird does about 85-90% damage to the Shadow Gliscor. And from here, this is pretty much a GG, as the opponent will be firing off a Night Slash into our Gyarados, but Shiny Gyarados can easily call game. Well played by the opponent. Thank you for the match. So pretty good demonstration of how absolutely lethal SirFetchd can be, especially with an energy lead. Hopping into the next battle, we have Gyarados on the lead against Cresselia. This is a pretty good lead for us, as Gyarados is able to win this matchup, albeit not entirely comfortably, as we will allow this first Grass Knot to go through, dealing neutral damage to our Water Flying type Pokemon, and the opponent makes a fantastic catch on our Crunch, taking that damage onto their Galarian Stunfisk. This opponent was really good at catching my charge moves when I was throwing them at random times, but we are able to reach a Leaf Blade, throwing this Leaf Blade just before the opponent reaches an Earthquake. Opponent is content with allowing their Galarian Stunfisk to go down and will be coming back into this matchup with their Cresselia. SirFetchd has put in some work for us here. Will we preserve its health? No, the opponent, we call the bait, and the opponent full sends the Moonblast. That is not great for us, as we will be bringing back in our Shiny Gyarados. Gyarados will be dealing super effective damage with this Crunch, but will have to shield to preserve its health in order to do so. Crunch is reached, able to fire off the crunch into the opponent, but the opponent once again makes a great catch on our charge move onto their Shadow Machamp. We are building up energy, able to reach an Aqua Tail, as this will be putting immense pressure on shield pressure on the opponent to preserve their health and energy of their Shadow Machamp. Shadow Machamp now has a significant energy lead on our Alolan Muk, and we will respect the damage, as anything this Machamp throws will hit for neutral and it will hit hard. As Shadow Machamp is able to reach another charge move, there you see the damage from the cross chop, and we go for the aggressive farm down. Alolan Muk able to poison jab down the Shadow Machamp, which we would not be able to do if we were running Snarl, and we effectively shield bait the opponent. Will Alolan Muk be able to reach this Dark Pulse? We are on the CMP tie, as this Dark Pulse will be KOing the opponent's Cresselia, as Muk calls game. Well played by the opponent. Thank you for the match. So that was an extremely chaotic match, a lot of swapping in, out, keeping track of our own energy as well as the opponent's energy. But that was a fantastic match. GG, well played to the opponent. Thank you for the match. Hopping into the next battle, we have a fantastic lead. Our Gyarados on the lead against the opponent's Charizard. The opponent swaps into their Melmetal, and we counter swap into our SirFetchd. This Melmetal built up to 5 Thunder Shocks, sending the superpower. I'm going for the aggressive farm down here, but I realize that is way too optimistic, as we will not be able to get that farm down and instead throw this Leaf Blade. The opponent is debuffed in their attack and defense, so I'm hoping that the Leaf Blade is enough to knock them out, but unfortunately it isn't. And I'm also hoping that we're able to survive that now debuffed superpower, but again, unfortunately, we are not able to, as we bring in our Muk here. Muk able to charge up a ton of energy while taking this now double debuff superpower before poison jabbing down the opponent. Opponent, realizing that they do not want their Charizard to be aligned with our Gyarados, brings in their Charizard into our Alolan Muk and now swaps out into their Gallade. Gallade will be requiring 3 confusions to reach this first Leaf Blade. Once again, these grass type moves will be dealing neutral damage to our water flying type, but we will be respecting the damage output by this Gallade by expending our first shield, as the opponent matches shields, and from here we will be able to outpace them, throwing on perfect timing just before the opponent is able to reach another charge move. But that Aqua Tail is not enough damage to knock out the Gallade, as we are forced with the decision here, and we will allow the Gyarados to go down, but we do survive on, let's call it a handful of HP, and are able to deal a decent amount of Dragon Breath damage onto the opponent. Has now built up more than 7 wing attacks of energy. We have to call this bait here, and it is in fact the Dragon Claw. We are successful in calling that bait, and from here, even though the opponent has 1 shield, we can Acid Spray, as we do successfully shield that Dragon Claw. Acid Spray to lower the opponent's defenses by 2 stages and go for the aggressive poison jab down. Are we able to get it? Yes, we are, as Alolan Muk calls game. Well played by the opponent. Thank you for the match. So that match was extremely close. It just turned on that our ability to call that last bait, and we are successful in doing so. Hopping straight into the next battle, we have a tough lead. Galarian Stunfisk on the lead against our Gyarados. That matchup is extremely close, but we choose to not play it out, instead pivoting straight into our hardest counter, that being our SirFetchd, to draw out the opponent's Shadow Gliscor. Gliscor will be dealing super effective wing attack damage to our Duck, but we will be able to resist and therefore survive this Night Slash, as the opponent does get the boost. How significant will that boost be? The opponent shields our Leaf Blade and will be able to farm down, but no, we throw on CMP tie. That is excellent for us, as that Night Slash will be taking us out, but they smartly, intelligently do undercharge and are able to get 1 final wing attack of energy, but the Gliscor cannot outpace our Gyarados. We are able to reach this Aqua Tail, knocking out the opponent's Gliscor before they're able to put in any more damage to us. We hop immediately into our Alolan Muk, and that was a pretty favorable matchup for the opponent, as they will be able to deal super effective damage with the Earthquakes onto our Poison Dark type, but instead, opponent pivots into their Cresselia. Cresselia will be receiving about 50% damage from those Dark Pulses, so very much not appreciated, while our Muk can comfortably tank 1, if not 2, Moonblast from this Cresselia. Alolan Muk not wasting any time with the baits here. We full send another Dark Pulse, able to knock out the opponent's Cresselia, and from here, it is Galarian Stunfisk with a ton of energy, a little bit less energy, as they do send one Rock Slide. We call that bait successfully, fully planning on saving both shields for our Gyarados, as the Galarian Stunfisk must expend pretty much all of their energy to take out our Muk with 2 Rock Slides. And from here, we have a 1 shield advantage on our Gyarados, and this is a winning matchup for us. With the 1 shield advantage, us having 2, the opponent having 1, as well as with an energy advantage, the Gyarados can comfortably win this. I ran the sims afterward. I wasn't too sure in the moment how much 1 Rock Slide would do to a non-Shadow Gyarados, but I do allow 1 to go through just to see. Well, I don't allow it. We're now fully shields down. The opponent able to reach another Rock Slide, and here you'll see how much damage this will do to our non-Shadow Gyarados. So that will be a little bit less comfortable if you're running a Shadow Gyarados, but from here, the opponent chooses to not delay the inevitable, dips from the game, calls GG. Well played by the opponent. Thank you for the match, as Gyarados calls game. Hopping into the next battle, we have our Gyarados on the lead against a Golisopod. So this is a pretty good matchup for us, as Golisopod's hardest hitting charge move will be the Liquidation, which will be resisted by our Gyarados. The Golisopod is able to reach its first charge move, which will be the Liquidation. So Golisopod will be reaching that Liquidation after 7 or 6 Shadow Claws, but the opponent immediately pivots into their Alolan Golem. Golem will be met by our SirFetchd, and SirFetchd able to knock out the Golem with a single Leaf Blade before the opponent brings back in their Golisopod. We throw this on CMP tie. Will the Golisopod respect the neutral damage from the Leaf Blade? They do, as the Golisopod is a bug water type. The opponent has not built up entirely to their next charge move. We call that bait. It is just an X Scissor, and now we are once again able to win CMP tie, throwing yet another Leaf Blade into this Golisopod, and they once again respect the damage, choosing to expend their final shield to knock out our Duck with this X Scissor. We actually survive, so they are able to get 1 final Shadow Claw worth of energy, and we will be firing off this Crunch just to make sure. I wasn't sure how much Aqua Tail did, but I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have KO'd from there. So we secure that knockout with a Crunch, met by the opponent's Abomasnow in the back. So this is a little bit of BM. I was going for the defense drop, but that is entirely unnecessary, as we could have just brought in Muk, easily able to Poison Jab down, expending 1 if not both shields. I considered in this moment, do I want to double shield flex on my opponent? But I didn't want to put them through that. We're still both in pretty low MMR, so it felt a little bit unnecessary. There will hopefully be more opportunities to 2 shield flex in the future, but for now, we're able to expend 1 shield, Poison Jab down, as Muk calls game. Well played by the opponent. Thank you for the match, and we actually were able to get the 5-0 on this set before we got our ELO reveal. We're in the high 2100s. So yeah, these weren't the highest MMR battles, but they were still facing respectable meta Pokemon, and we did see that the non-XL Pokemon were putting in some serious work. So Gyarados putting pressure on opponents with its charge moves for sure, but definitely with the fast move of Dragon Breath is always going to be oppressive, as well as SirFetchd in the back. If you can get an energy lead, it will be extremely lethal to any Pokemon that the opponent brings in the back. And Alolan Muk has been a very fantastic generalist as a safe swap for the longest time, pretty much for the entire duration of Ultra League. So hopefully you enjoyed today's video. We did take a little bit of a break from building the expensive bonds. We will go back in upcoming Ultra League videos to featuring some of those more meta, more expensive Pokemon that require a lot more resources. But anyhow, that's going to be all from me. Thank you so much for stopping by. Remember to enjoy the small things. Peace.